Well, also here in Paris today, the French President Emmanuel Macron has welcomed the British leader Keir Starmer at the Elysee Palace. Now, the pair were slated to discuss Ukraine and the Middle East, as well as the relationship between the EU and the UK, 4 years after the United Kingdom officially left the bloc. Well, that meeting comes as Macron is grappling with political problems far closer to home as well. After the elections here in early July, France is still without a prime minister. Clovis Casali is our political reporter who's been looking into this sort of stalemate in French politics, Clovis. And before he met Starmer this morning, Macron sat down with regional leaders from across France. He's trying to break the deadlock, trying to find a name for Prime Minister that could be workable for all kinds of different people. How's he getting on?
Well, before I answer that, let me just tell you about that meeting, Starmer-Macron, because it goes back to the very interesting interview we just heard. Keir Starmer was telling Emmanuel Macron in that courtyard of the Elysee Palace when he walked in what a great opening ceremony it was for the Paralympics and how impressed he had been by that night yesterday. Of course, Keir Starmer in the stands with President Macron, invited by the French president. Let's try to make this as interesting now, what I'm going to be telling you about.
We're interested in politics too, Clovis. Come on.
Yes, but these talks aren't producing very good results, no clear-cut results. Regional figures, a meeting with the French president this morning, Carole Delga, socialist from the Occitanie region. That's the Pyrenees. There is also Renaud Muselier from the Provence. And David Lisnau is the president of the Association of Mayors. Why is Emmanuel Macron meeting these people? Because he's trying to consult and meet with as many politicians or figures as possible to try to come up with a name, try to see who would get some kind of backing at the National Assembly in order for him, of course, to appoint a new prime minister. It might also be a way for the French president to show less of a Paris-centric approach, if you will, say that he's listening to what people in the regions are saying and also try to find some kind of solution. At the end of the meeting, Carole Delga, who's this socialist politician, quite powerful in the party, even though she's an opponent of the party leader Olivier Faure. Carole Delga came to see us journalists outside the Elysee Palace and gave us an idea of who she thinks should be the next prime minister. Take a listen to Carole Delga.
Bernard Cazeneuve is a statesman, a man of the left. He's capable of implementing left-wing policies and bringing people together. But we have to be clear that it won't be the NFP's programme, at least not all our policies. We don't have an absolute majority, and at some point we have to stop peddling the French people a fantasy.
Well, the name that she gave there was Bernard Cazeneuve. Tell us a bit about him, Clovis.
And she repeated Cazeneuve, that name, to us outside the Elysee Palace, as she did that morning, also this morning on that set of TF1. Who is Bernard Cazeneuve? Former Prime Minister, former Interior Minister during the Paris attacks of 2015 against the Bataclan music venue. And that gives him some kind of authority. He's respected by the centre, the right, even in some ways by the far right. Bernard Cazeneuve also left the Socialist Party when the Socialists made that alliance with the radical left of Jean-Luc Mélenchon. So it means he does have quite a lot of respect on the political spectrum, but not necessarily the backing of all of the left wing. But he's still one name that keeps coming up and that could be a possible option for President Emmanuel Macron.
So you think the most likely then is that we will see a candidate from the left emerging?
I'm no wizard. I don't really know. I think what everybody thinks is that the left wing came first in the past snap elections. They finished ahead. They did not get an outright majority. That's why they can't impose their candidate to President Macron. But yes, they finished first, and therefore it would be logical. Yesterday, former President François Hollande was saying it's a constitutional fault, political mistake, not to name a left-wing figure. If Emmanuel Macron doesn't have a choice ultimately, if no name gets some kind of backing from a majority of MPs, I think he's going to have to pick someone from the left wing. And it would also be a way to respect the vote of the French people who did put the left wing ahead. You remember there was the Republican front?
Right.
These candidates getting together, backing one another to prevent the far right from coming into power. Well, a lot of left-wing candidates enabled centrist candidates of Emmanuel Macron to win. There's a lot of bargaining there, a lot of negotiations. We should know in the next few days, hopefully before Sunday.